Welcome to Schoolin' Around, a podcast hosted by Branching Minds, featuring prominent leaders, subject matter experts, and thought innovators with their perspectives on the current challenges facing K-12 education. I am your host, Larissa Napolitan, a former teacher, instructional coach, and a member of the Branching Minds team, here to lead conversations and to shine a light on phenomenal educators and those that are on a mission to transform our schools and the lives of students. I am thrilled to announce our 2025 virtual MTSS Summit happening this December. This two-day event is all about MTSS innovation with intention, where we will dive into bold ideas and practical strategies to ensure every student is supported and every educator is equipped to succeed. Join an international community of educators and leaders to explore how intentionality and innovation can drive meaningful change in MTSS implementation. You won't want to miss this incredible opportunity to connect and grow. If you're a school or district leader, I know you wear a lot of hats. Supporting students, guiding staff, keeping an eye on the big picture. There's a lot to juggle. That's where MTSS comes in, the framework that helps make the daily work make sense. Now, I want to start with a quick story. I was chatting with a district leader just a few weeks ago, and she told me about a time when MTSS felt like checking boxes. Data was being collected, reports were being filed, but nothing was changing. Her turning point was focusing on data that actually told the story of her students and staff, the kind that made next steps clear and meaningful. Suddenly, data wasn't a compliance exercise. It was a bridge to real improvement. You could feel the energy shift. That's the kind of transformation we'll be exploring today. Let's be honest. How many times have we asked our teams to be data-driven only to hand them reams of numbers that feel more like a mountain than a map? If you're nodding, you're not alone. The phrase, a lot of us hear, data-rich but information-poor, really captures this challenge. Our teachers are swimming or maybe even treading water in state test results, benchmarks, spreadsheets, and still, actionable insights are hard to find. Take those state test results. Delivered in the spring, results come back months later, long after those students have moved on. Useful for state reporting, maybe, but in terms of actionable steps for instruction, not so much. And even when we do have that information, it can feel vague. Telling a teacher their class is struggling with numbers in base 10 offers little in the way of what to teach differently on Monday morning. It's a bit like hearing you're not feeling well without any direction as to why. So what can we do? This is where leadership matters. Let's be proactive about the assessments we use in our schools. Are they timely? Are they specific? Do they give our teachers something that they can use to make a real difference in kids' learning? When we answer yes, we move from overwhelming our staff to truly equipping them. So what makes data meaningful? If less is more, what are we aiming for when it comes to data in MTSS? Let's talk about meaningful metrics. The power of meaningful data is that it's actionable, precise, and connected to student needs. It's the difference between a vague label and a clear path forward. Imagine moving from saying a student is struggling with reading to this student needs support with decoding CVC words. That shift doesn't just clarify the problem, it lays out the next step. And this isn't just theory. Dr. Andrew Channock, who's a school psychologist and a guest on our podcast earlier this fall, and one of our keynote speakers at our summit in the few weeks, he pointed out that metrics are only meaningful if the people using them understand what they mean. So instead of focusing on generic scores, those they got a 235 that don't tell the real story, he encourages us to look at skill-specific and frequent measures. Things like math fact fluency, writing speed, or even sound recognition. These can be quick to collect and easy to use, and they offer teachers real-time feedback. Let me share a quick example. A third grade teacher had a student stuck at 30 words per minute in reading fluency. Benchmark suggests that he wasn't meeting the cut, but that wasn't helping anyone. So she started tracking his weekly progress on words correct per minute and paired that with targeted interventions. Week by week, she saw progress, 35, then 42, and finally 50 words per minute. That celebration, it wasn't just a number, it meant hope and motivation for that student, and even pride and recognition for his teacher. That's the difference meaningful data can bring, not only for teaching, but for the spirit of your learning community. Now, getting the data right isn't only about picking new assessments. It's about nurturing a culture where every educator can use data as a lever for growth together. So, how do we get there? Here's some steps you can champion as the leader. First, select effective assessments. Sit down with your team and really dig into your assessment calendar. For every test, ask, why are we giving this? Does it help us make decisions about instruction? Is the data timely and useful? Removing unnecessary assessments means more time for teaching and learning. Here's my caveat though. Sometimes as a school leader, you actually don't have the power to make the decision for those big tests, right? The state tells you what you need to take. And maybe your district has determined that you are taking a certain kind of universal screener. But maybe you have an impact on deciding what universal screener to go to, or progress monitors, or even your common assessment. Maybe you get to input that for your district. So make sure that you give feedback to your district leaders. Now, if you are a district leader, you have to listen to that feedback about what your administrators are telling you about how useful that data is. And you need to consider evaluating the assessments and whether they're really useful. Don't spend money on assessments that don't give information that you need. Here's the second thing. You need to invest in professional learning. Data literacy is a skill, not an assumption. If your staff needs time and training to turn numbers into action, give it to them and don't do it alone. Build schedules that allow for collaboration and group data analysis. When teachers talk through data and problem solve together, their collective wisdom shines. Ooh, that's chef's kiss. That is the best kind of meeting, is when you can talk about data and you actually come out with some conclusions and some action items. So good. Now, third, you need to standardize your processes. Establish a shared, reliable way to collect, review, and respond to data, whether that's through an MTSS platform like Branching Minds or through some other process. When everyone understands when to bring data, how to interpret it, and which decisions are on the table, team meetings shift from confusion to high-impact collaboration. Now, finally, practice and refine. Use case studies, sample data, or even non-evaluative scenarios so teams can flex those data muscles without the stress of real stakes. With each practice, confidence grows, routines set in, and staff are ready to tackle the real data that comes with real students. Remember, a positive, supportive data culture is something you can build. It's an investment in your staff's confidence and your students' growth. So here's a big one. How do we talk about progress? It's easy to get fixated on benchmarks. But if we do, we risk missing the remarkable stories growth can tell. Benchmarks matter, right? Grade level benchmarks matter. And they help us flag who needs what. But they don't capture the journey. And the journey matters. Picture that sixth grader who starts the year reading at a third grade level. After months of focused support, she's reading at a fifth grade level by spring. Has she hit the benchmark? Maybe not. But has she made extraordinary growth? Absolutely. Should we celebrate that? Without a doubt. As leaders, we can choose to frame our conversations with hope and possibility. Instead of asking, why isn't the student at the target? Let's wonder together, where has this child grown? Which interventions moved the needle? This way, our data conversations become sources of encouragement for our students and for the staff and educators that are supporting them. And we know that progress isn't always linear or fast, but it's powerful. And small milestones can light up a classroom, renew everyone's belief in what is possible. That's that collective efficacy, right? That's what we all want to achieve. So as we wrap up today, I invite you to reflect, as usual. What would you change in your district or your school if data felt less like a task and more like a tool? If your staff felt supported, confident in turning numbers into steps and celebrating every gain, big or small. That is the promise of using data with care in your MTSS framework. So this week, start a conversation in your school. Ask, are our assessments meaningful and manageable? Are we giving teachers the resources and time they need? And I know that that's a difficult one, but sometimes just opening the conversation can produce a new idea. Most importantly, are we celebrating growth? Your leadership not only shapes policy, but it fuels daily experiences of educators and students. And when you lead with compassion, clarity, and high expectations, you make space for everyone to succeed. Thank you so much for joining me today for this conversation on School and Around. And if this has sparked something or resonated with you, please share it with your colleagues and subscribe so we can continue learning and growing together. And if no one's told you today, you're making a difference every day. And I can't wait to see the progress you and your school community make. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to School and Around, a podcast hosted by Branching Minds. Go ahead and subscribe to our feed wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget, if you are enjoying our content, would you do us a favor and rate and review our podcast on iTunes? This helps others find our podcast and lets us know how much you love what we're creating. Branching Minds is an educational technology company using learning sciences and technology to help districts effectively personalize learning through MTSS. To learn more about us, check out our website, branchingminds.com, or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn @Branching Minds.